Give me a minute and let's talk about Dr. Timothy Snyder's testimony before the House of Representatives. Now, for those of you who watch this channel regularly, you know that Dr. Timothy Snyder is the leading academic in the United States. He is the expert on Russia and Ukraine. He is also a historian who has written books about World War II and the Shoah, or the Holocaust. And in his testimony before Congress, Timothy Snyder did something that I haven't heard anybody else do. He not only went down the list of the 6 major lies that Russian propaganda tells us about Ukraine, but he documented how Chinese propaganda has picked up these lies and is amplifying them and repeating them to the point where, without exception, every one of them has been brought to the floor of Congress, either in the House or the Senate or in both chambers. Every one of them. And we saw that in an example of that just writ large. The space laser lady got out her BS megaphone and asked Dr. Snyder a question, which he promptly used as an example of how these lies and misinformation are being repeated on the floor of Congress. It was a thing of beauty. It was a thing of beauty. So just to be clear, let's go down the list of lies that Russia tells about the war in Ukraine and that Chinese propaganda has picked up and is amplifying. And so when you see these lies being told, you should immediately question the source and their motivations, because we know that these things are not true. I have been now in Ukraine for 15 months. I know very well that the big lie, number one, is that the Ukrainian administration is not full of fascists. This is not a fascist regime. This is not a Yahtzee regime. This is not a place where the alt-right thrives. And Dr. Snyder made that point by saying that at the height of the far right in this country, they had achieved not more than 3% of parliamentary representation. Further, he goes on, point number 2, that the war is all about NATO expansion. This is nonsense, of course. That Ukraine is corrupt, and that lie has been repeated in both houses of in both chambers of Congress. And he called out Senator J.D. Vance for spreading that nonsense. The fourth talking point that the Russians want us all to believe is that democracies can't do anything to assist Ukraine, that Ukraine's defeat is inevitable, that Russia is a superpower that will destroy Ukraine, and there is nothing we can do about it. This, of course, is nonsense of the first order. He cited the Republican talking point, we're helping Ukraine, but we're not doing anything about our borders. This is not a Republican talking point. It's a Russian talking point that has been amplified by Chinese propaganda and that the Republicans have been suckered into taking up after they sabotaged their own border legislation. And that lie has been repeated in both chambers of Congress. And then finally, the Biden bribe, which launched the impeachment inquiry into the President of the United States and was found to be totally without merit. It has also been repeated on the floor of both chambers of Congress. And so these 6 talking points are based solely in the never-ending perverse imagination of the Russian propaganda machine and fertilized and nurtured by the Chinese propaganda machine. And Americans who buy into them are the suckers of foreign propaganda. Make no mistake. That's the reality of the situation. The complete testimony of Dr. Snyder is available on YouTube. And I encourage Americans that are genuinely interested in this to listen to this erudite academic give us the facts. which are known so well to him from his decades of research and publication on Russia, Ukraine, and the history of World War II here in Europe. Thank you.